Hi, I'm Tom Lu. Today I'm in Edinburgh, the capital of Scotland. Scotland and England once were separate kingdoms in history, and they had a complicated relationship. England often tried to control Scotland, but Scotland resisted, famously fighting for its independence. Scotland and England united in 1707. Scotland contributed to the expansion of the British Empire and two world wars. After World War II, Scotland prospered, becoming an economic powerhouse of Europe, while keeping its distinctive culture and history, making it a popular tourist destination and the second most visited city in the UK. Edinburgh owes its existence to the ancient volcanic activities 340 million years ago, which formed a series of hills and ridges, and gave the city one of the most striking landscapes in Europe. Arthur's Seat is an extinct volcano, rising 823 feet. It's the highest point in the city, and enduring evidence of that formation. There are steep, dramatic cliffs just below Arthur's Seat. It's part of the same volcanic system, shaped by glacier erosion. Once you climb to the edge of the cliffs, it'll give you a panoramic vista of Edinburgh. Streets often follow the contours of the land, resulting in dramatic vistas, bridges, and staircases. Edinburgh's unique layout and dramatic topography contribute to its UNESCO World Heritage status. The history of Edinburgh began in the early Middle Ages with the hill, most likely on Castle Rock, a prominent volcanic plug in the heart of the city. It's a significant geological feature, formed approximately 350 million years ago. The rock's distinctive shape, with steep cliffs on the west side and a gentler slope on the east side, provides a natural defensive position. Known as Ding Edin, or the Stronghold of Edin, the site was a vital stronghold for centuries. Later, the Angles who captured the area in 638 AD combined the Gaelic name Aidan with their Old English word for fort, burh, resulting in the name Edinburgh. The development of Edinburgh began in the 12th century under the Scottish king David I. It led to Edinburgh's Old Town, which is the historic center of Scotland's capital. The Old Town is filled with a medieval labyrinth of narrow alleys, towering tenements, and centuries-old landmarks. It's one of the most atmospheric urban areas in Europe and a part of a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Home to famous landmarks such as Edinburgh Castle and the Royal Mile, it's often bustling with tourists and locals alike. Upon visiting the Old Town, I came across the term medieval skyscrapers. They are referring to a cluster of tall, narrow buildings designed in the Gothic Revival style. They were a result of limited space and the need for defensible structures within the city walls against the English invaders. There's a labyrinth of narrow, winding alleyways that weave through the buildings and connect the main streets. They are referring to closes. Some sections of the closes have staircases for the ascending and the descending terrains. They are dotted with small and charming courtyards. Walking through the narrow alleyways and looking upon the towering Gothic buildings is like being taken back in time. They evoke a sense of mystery and legends, making some people believe Edinburgh is a haunted city. Haunted or not, I have to come to enjoy the atmosphere of Edinburgh's Old Town and exploring its streets and buildings. One day, I stumbled upon the Castle Rock Cafe, a cafe tucked in one of those closes, a cafe in an ancient castle setting. The Castle Rock Cafe in Edinburgh. It was once a castle and modified it into a breakfast restaurant. Look at the wall. It has a medieval vibe. I really like the setting. It's charming. The Edinburgh Castle sits on the Castle Rock, or volcanic rock, formed 350 million years ago and rising 430 feet above sea level. It served many purposes in history: a royal residence, an archive, a prison, and most importantly, a military fortress. It was under siege by the enemies many times. People of every nation have something in their homeland to be proud of, something that represents both a national shrine and an ancient monument. The Scots are proud of Edinburgh Castle, calling it the defender of the nation. Perched on the Castle Rock in the heart of Edinburgh, with dramatic cliffs, the fortress dominates the Edinburgh skyline and serves as a powerful symbol of Scottish heritage, resilience, and a national identity. The castle has a 3,000-year history of human settlement. In medieval times, it served as a stronghold to withstand the sieges and attacks from the English in the Scottish independence wars. There were times the castle was captured by the English, and there were times it was retaken by the Scottish, becoming a symbol of Scottish strength and perseverance. Many important historic events took place in Edinburgh Castle. In 1566, James VI was born in the castle. Later he became the king of both Scotland and England, uniting the crowns of two kingdoms, a pivotal time in British history. Home to numerous national monuments and museums, Edinburgh Castle is now the most visited tourist attraction in Scotland, receiving over 1 million visitors every year. Scottish National War Memorial, National War Museum, and the St. Margaret's Chapel are among the most popular sites to visit. The statue by the gate on the right is William Wallace, the military leader who led Scottish Independence War around 1297. He is a Scottish symbol of resistance, independence, and freedom. His story is featured in Hollywood blockbuster and Oscar-winning film Braveheart, in which he was played by Mel Gibson. William Wallace won the Battle of Stirling Bridge in 1297 against the English, but lost the Battle of Falkirk in the next year. He was captured by the English, tortured and executed. The statue of Robert the Bruce is on the left side of the gate. Robert the Bruce was a Scottish nobleman who took part in William Wallace's campaign and became King of Scots in 1306. He fought successfully against the English in 1314 and won the independence of Scotland. Above the gate, there's the national motto of Scotland, Nemo me impio lasist, Latin for "No one can challenge me with impunity." Edinburgh Castle is a vast, sprawling complex with buildings and fortifications spanning almost 1,000 years. Most have been altered considerably during their life, often more than once, to adapt them for new uses. The architecture of Edinburgh Castle reflects its long and layered history. Scotland's most noted architects, engineers, and craftsmen worked on it. The quality of its construction is outstanding. Its architecture is considered a medieval masterpiece. Quake-leaf sandstone, a tough, durable local stone, was used in most of the castle's walls and buildings, giving it the iconic gray-brown appearance. In addition to the buildings and fortifications, the castle is also home to numerous national treasures and enjoys cultural significance. The castle has 4 main zones: the upper ward, housing the most important buildings; the middle ward, housing structures built mostly for the army; the lower ward, housing the main entrance and the esplanade, originally part of Castle Hill. The oldest building is St. Margaret's Chapel, built in 1130 in a Romanesque style by King David I in memory of his mother, Queen Margaret. Half Moon Battery is a massive curved artillery fortification built in the late 16th century. The cannons on the gun battery gave a wide horizontal sweep of fire. They were made in the 18th and the 19th century and used for castle defense. Today, tourists often gather here to enjoy the panoramic vista of Edinburgh. The Great Hall was built in 1511 in the late medieval Gothic style by King James IV, used for royal ceremonies, banquets, and state functions. Now showcases weapons and armor. The walls are adorned with spears, swords, shields, and suits of armor, reflecting Scotland's glorious military history and struggles to earn its independence. There's a cannon firing at 1 p.m. at Edinburgh Castle every day. Now it's 10 to 1. People are already gathering. The 1 o'clock gun fires every day at 1 p.m., except Sunday, Good Friday, and Christmas Day. Started in 1861, it helped ships in the Firth of Forth set their maritime clocks accurately. Now, one of Edinburgh's most beloved daily traditions for tourists and locals alike. The prison at Edinburgh Castle, often referred to as the prisons of war, is a fascinating and a sobering part of the castle's long history. It offers a glimpse into how prisoners were housed during various conflicts, especially in the 18th and early 19th centuries. The prison consists of vaulted underground chambers beneath Crown Square where prisoners of war and sometimes criminals were held. It once held thousands of prisoners from many nations during many wars: American Revolutionary War, Napoleonic Wars, wars with France, Spain, and the Dutch. Notably, some American prisoners were held during the Revolutionary War. Though confined in dark, damp chambers, conditions were surprisingly humane compared to other prisons of the era. Prisoners were given hammocks, blankets, rations, and various games. Some were allowed to sell handmade goods at the market. Escape attempts were common. Some tunnels were discovered beneath the castle. Today, the prison is a tourist attraction with exhibits, wax figures, and objects. A curious visitor can enter a prison cell, look around, spend some time inside, and feel the prison atmosphere. I've never been in a real prison myself, nor visited anyone in prison. The experience of visiting the prison at Edinburgh Castle as a tourist is fascinating and satisfies my curiosity. Edinburgh Castle, by its very position in the heart of Scotland's capital city, plays a leading role in the life not only of the city, but of the entire nation. It's recognized as a national icon for its proud history, architectural achievement, and most importantly, the defender of Scotland. Aside from being the most popular tourist attraction in Edinburgh, today it still functions as a meeting and a reception place for foreign dignitaries. The Three Graces is one of the most admired neoclassical marble sculptures in the world by Italian sculptor Antonio Canova. This breathtaking masterpiece is currently being displayed in the National Galleries of Scotland in Edinburgh. It embodies the grace, elegance, and harmony of ancient Greek mythology, reimagined through 19th century artistry. Antonio Canova created between 1815 and 1817. It depicts three daughters of Zeus and Euphrosyne has a cheerful personality. Aglaia is known to be elegant and friendly. Thalia represents youth and beauty. Altogether, these figures symbolize qualities like chastity, beauty, love, and a shared friendship. The sculpture stands about 4 feet 7 inches tall and portrays the Graces in a dynamic, intimate embrace. Their arms interlaced and the gazes interlocking to form a unified flowing composition. Canova crafted a close-knit group with complementary poses, emphasizing movement, tenderness, and a lifelike vitality. The marble's polished surfaces mimic soft skin, showcasing Canova's mastery of light, texture, and anatomy, which contemporary praised as surpassing even Michelangelo or ancient sculptors. In 1994, the National Galleries of Scotland and the Victoria and Albert Museum in London jointly bought it for £7.5 million from a private owner through a public appeal to prevent it from exporting to the US. Since then, the piece has alternated its display location between Edinburgh and London for every few years. Currently housed in the Scottish National Gallery, the Three Graces occupies the central spot on the ground floor, where natural light comes from the dome above and enhances its ethereal glow. This sculpture not only highlights Canova's status as Europe's preeminent sculptor, but also bridges antiquity and modernity, inviting viewers to ponder timeless ideals of beauty and grace. Hi, I'm Tom Lu. Today I'm in the Palace of Holyrood in Edinburgh. Situated at the end of the Royal Mile, the Palace of Holyrood was founded in the 16th century by King James IV. In history, it served as a royal residence for the Scottish monarchs. Today, it still hosts royal events for the British monarch. Every country with a long history has royal palaces. Some have become relics of a bygone era when kings, queens, and nobles dominated a society and guided the destiny of people. Some are still the working and living space for those who have the royal privilege given by the Constitution. In either case, they often stand as stories of how royal power was created, maintained, and declined. The architecture of a royal palace is often most remarkable in the capital city. Visiting such a palace offers a glimpse of the way of life the royals once led. The Holyrood Palace is one of Edinburgh's crown jewels and a must-visit for anyone exploring Scottish history. It stands at the end of the Royal Mile in Edinburgh, opposite to Edinburgh Castle. The history of the Holyrood Palace traces back to 1128, when King David I built an abbey which now stands next to the palace. The abbey was called Holyrood. Rood is a word for the cross on which Jesus Christ was crucified. The name Holyrood means Holy Cross. Legend has it, in 1128, King David I saw a vision of a stag with a cross between its antlers while hunting in the forest in this region. He decided to build a new religious foundation dedicated to the Holyrood on the site. Between 1501 and 1505, the Gothic-style Holyrood Palace was constructed adjacent to the abbey under King James IV. In the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, people in Europe believed royal power must be backed by a strong Christian faith. The palace could be viewed as an extension of the abbey. Today, the Holyrood Abbey has become ruins due to wars, religious change, neglect, and structural damage over centuries. Only the roofless nave, Romanesque arcade, Gothic windows, and vaulted ceilings were left, allowing us to imagine the grandeur of this once magnificent building. The Holyrood Palace, however, remained strong and magnificent. It served as the official residence of the Scottish monarchs in history. Currently, it's still the official royal residence for the British monarch, King Charles III, when he visits Scotland. It's a setting for state ceremonies and official entertainment. The architecture of Holyrood Palace was influenced by many styles, spanning Gothic, Scottish Renaissance, and Baroque. The facade features classical elements like pilasters, pediments, and a central entrance, with a grand staircase reflecting European trends in palatial architecture. The Baroque phase under Charles II aligns with continental trends, emphasizing symmetry and classical motifs. The palace is organized around the central courtyard with 4 ranges: north, south, east, west. The west front, facing the forecourt, is the most imposing with its symmetrical towers and a Baroque detailing. The towers are robust, fortified structure for defensive purposes. The thick stone walls and the narrow windows reflect the turbulent era. Its symmetry and grandeur are the signature design of the Baroque style. The palace is primarily built of local sandstone, giving it a warm golden hue. Timber and plaster are used extensively in interiors, with later additions of marble and decorative ironwork. The fountain in the forecourt of the palace was installed in the 19th century during Queen Victoria's reign to enhance the palace's ceremonial entrance. It's a replica of the 16th century fountain at the Linlithgow Palace, another Scottish royal residence. The design reflects a Renaissance-style tiered structure, typical of ornamental fountains from that period. The fountain features intricate stonework with multi-tiered basin, crowned by a sculpted finial. Its design includes carved heraldic motifs and figures, symbolizing royal authority and Scottish heritage. Crafted from sandstone, the fountain complements the palace's golden-hued facade, blending seamlessly with the Baroque west front. The Holyrood Palace is often associated with Queen Mary the Scots, the Scottish queen who lived here in the 1560s. She was the first cousin of Queen Elizabeth I of England, once removed. She was executed by Elizabeth, allegedly for plotting to assassinate the English queen. However, history is full of twists and turns. After Elizabeth died, Mary's son, James VI, became king of both England and Scotland, and paved the way for the unification of the two kingdoms. Every visitor who comes to Edinburgh will take a walk on the street named the Royal Mile. It's the historic heart and the spine of Edinburgh, running about 1.1 miles downhill from Edinburgh Castle at the top to the Palace of Holyrood House at the bottom. Despite its historic looks, the name is actually relatively modern. It was named in the early 20th century for tourism, but it reflects the traditional route between the two royal residences, the castle and the palace. The Royal Mile is made up of a succession of 5 streets: Castle Hill, Lawn Market, High Street, Canongate, Abbey Strand. These streets showcase Edinburgh's vibrant atmosphere and historic charm, leaving an indelible mark on my memory. Plenty of shops, restaurants, pubs, and historic landmarks line the street. 16th and 17th century towering buildings dominate Edinburgh's skyline. The dark grey walls of the buildings give the city a distinctive character. There are numerous narrow alleyways weaving through the buildings around the Royal Mile for visitors to explore on foot. They are like a labyrinth where you can often get lost, but discover hidden gems of Edinburgh, charming courtyards, pubs, gardens, and small museums. Victoria Street is Edinburgh's most iconic and photogenic Victorian-era street, often hailed as one of the city's most beautiful and quintessentially Victorian in feel. Built between 1829 and 1834 early Victorian period as part of urban improvements, it replaced the steep, narrow West Bow with a more accessible curved route connecting the Grassmarket to George V Bridge and the Royal Mile. Its cobblestone surface, colorful Victorian shopfronts, arched buildings, and a gentle curve give it a timeless fairy tale charm, widely believed to have inspired Diagon Alley in the Harry Potter series. The street is lined with quirky independent shops, cheese, whiskey, books, Harry Potter merchandise, cafes, and boutiques. In the upper level, Victoria Terrace offers elevated views and more dining spots. The North Bridge is one of the major bridges in central Edinburgh, linking the Royal Mile and the Old Town with the New Town and the Princes Street. It spans the deep valley that separates the Old Town from the New Town, crossing above the Waverley Station, Edinburgh's main railway station, and the Waverley Valley. Built in 1897 in pinkish sandstone, it's 525 feet long and 75 feet wide with wide pavement. There are 3 white arches, ornate Victorian lamps, and balustrades, giving the bridge a classic appearance, and making it a popular spot for visitors and locals to gather and take photographs. The spectacular castle-like buildings towering over the high street provide a perfect backdrop for photos. The view is so stunning and iconic that anyone who has walked on this bridge can boast to their friends for the rest of their lives. What you see from the North Bridge is stunning panoramic views in both directions. In the north, straight down Princess Street to the Scott Monument, Balmoral Hotel Clock Tower, and the Newtown rooftops toward the Firth of the Forth. In the south, Edinburgh Castle and the Old Town skyline rising dramatically above the Waverley Station roof, one of the classic postcard shots of Edinburgh. In the east, Kelton Hill Monuments, National Monument, Nelson Monument, Dougal Stewart Monument. In the west, the Mound and the National Galleries. We spend much time in a place called the Mound. The Mound is a steep, man-made hill by the Royal Mile, connecting Edinburgh's Old Town with the New Town. It's one of the most important pieces of city's geography, and also home to several prominent historic and cultural landmarks. Between 1781 and 1830, roughly 2 million cartloads of earth were dug out during the construction of the new town to give it an elegant, gentle sloping carriage route between the medieval Old Town, which was on the Castle Rock Ridge, and the Georgian New Town being built to the north. It's about 2,000 feet long and 164 feet high. The 2 grand neoclassical buildings that sit on top of the mound like bookends. On the west side, the new college, University of Edinburgh School of Divinity with its beautiful courtyards. On the east side, the Bank of Scotland head office. Between them, on the very top, is the open plaza with the entrance to the castle and the hub. The Gothic-inspired former church that's now the Edinburgh Festival Centre. Halfway down the slope, there's a National Gallery of Scotland, the big ochre-coloured building with columns. Royal Scottish Academy, the almost identical building in front of it. Princess Street Gardens runs directly underneath the mound on both sides. You can walk through the gardens and pop out halfway up via staircases. The Scott Monument is the largest monument in the world dedicated to a writer, Sir Walter Scott, Scotland's most famous novelist and a poet. This towering dark Victorian Gothic masterpiece stands majestically on the mound. Its spire appears in the sky and visible for miles. Built with dark Binny sandstone, it features intricate pinnacles, flying buttresses, and 68 statues. Every visitor is impressed by the scale of the construction and the breathtaking artworks of the Scott Monument. Along the Royal Mile, you will see street performers entertaining the crowd. Visitors often stop and gather around a boy who plays the traditional Scottish bagpipes. The Scottish bagpipe, best known as the Great Highland Bagpipe, is an iconic woodwind instrument and a symbol of Scottish heritage. It features a bag that serves as an air reservoir, inflated by mouth, and a melody pipe called a chanter, played with fingers for tunes. In the United States, we often hear the Scottish bagpipe at the weddings, funerals, and military events. The evocative, stirring sound of the bagpipes remains a powerful emblem of Scottish identity worldwide. Arthur's Seat is Edinburgh's most iconic natural landmark, an ancient extinct volcano rising dramatically in the heart of the city within Holyrood Park. At 823 feet high, it's the highest point in Edinburgh, offering stunning 360-degree panoramic views over the city's skyline, the Firth of Forth, and the distant hills. Formed around 340 to 350 million years ago during the Carboniferous period, when Scotland was near the equator, the hill is a part of a cluster of volcanic remnants. Glaciers later shaped its rugged profile, leaving steep rocky faces on one side and the gentler grassy slopes on the other. Human activity here dates back to at least 5000 BC, with evidence of hill forts from around 2000 years ago. The name Arthur's Seat is mysterious, possibly linked to King Arthur legends. Some even speculated as a Camelot site, or more likely a variant of Gaelic terms like height of arrows or place of prominence. Robert Louis Stevenson, a Scottish novelist, famously called it a hill of magnitude, a mountain in virtue of its bold design. Salisbury Crags are a dramatic line of sheer cliffs on the west side of Arthur's Seat. They are one of the most striking geological features. These impressive basalt cliffs, rising up to about 150 feet high in places, create a bold, jagged skyline visible across much of the city and provide some of the best panoramic views over Edinburgh. Geologically, the crags are a horizontal sheet of igneous rock that intruded into older sedimentary layers around 325 to 340 million years ago during the Carboniferous period. Unlike Arthur's Seat's main volcanic cone, the crags formed from magma pushing underground rather than erupting on the surface. Glaciers later sculpted the landscape, exposing the dramatic vertical faces. The site holds huge importance in the history of geology, which helped prove the Earth is ancient, and the rocks form through gradual processes. Today, the crags are a popular spot for hikers, with an easy to moderate trail running along the base. The trail, named the Radical Road, was built in the 1820s by unemployed weavers as a make-work project. You can follow it for stunning city views. The circular walk is about 2 to 3 miles with moderate elevation gain, taking 1 to 2 hours. St. Anthony's Chapel ruins a hauntingly picturesque medieval remnant perched on a rocky outcrop at Arthur's Seat. This small atmospheric ruin, often described looking more like a gong tower or castle fragment than a chapel, adds a romantic, ancient touch to the volcanic landscape of Arthur's Seat and the Salisbury Cracks. It's unclear when exactly the chapel was built. Scholars estimated it to be at least the early 15th century. It was likely founded under the influence of the Holyrood Abbey. The structure was probably a rectangular chapel with a tower around 40 feet high, possibly 3 stories, but fell into disuse and ruin after the Scottish Reformation in 1560. Today, only fragments remain, primarily the tall north wall with arched openings, parts of the west wall, and the remnants of an ancillary building. The site feels isolated and mystical, perfect for photos against the dramatic backdrop of Arthur's Seat slopes, the lake below, often dotted with swans and birds, and the sweeping city views toward Edinburgh's skyline. Cotton Hill is a famous historic hill in central Edinburgh, Scotland, known for its stunning panoramic views and home to some of Edinburgh's iconic monuments, many from the early 19th century. Like Arthur's Seat and Castle Rock, Cotton Hill was formed by volcanic activity about 340 million years ago, and then carved by glaciers during the Ice Age. Cotton Hill was part of the 19th century plans to make Edinburgh the Athens of the North due to its concentration of neoclassical architecture and cultural monuments. It stands just beyond the eastern end of Princess Street and is a part of Edinburgh's UNESCO World Heritage Site, offering some of the best views across the city, including Edinburgh Castle, Holyrood, Arthur's Seat, and the Firth of Forth. From the hilltop, you can see spectacular views over Edinburgh's skyline and the surrounding landscape, making it a favorite spot for tourists and photographers. Nelson Monument, a tower commemorating Admiral Horatio Nelson, once used for timekeeping by ships in the Firth of Forth. Dougal Stewart Monument, a striking memorial to the philosopher Dougal Stewart. The City Observatory, also known as the Cotton Hill Observatory, is one of the most distinctive landmarks on Cotton Hill. Perched at the summit, this neoclassical gem, with its Greek temple-like facade and a prominent dome, embodies Edinburgh's nickname as the Athens of the North and ties into Hill's role as a hub for astronomy and Enlightenment-era science. It served as an astronomical observatory from 1776 to 1896. Key contributions included timekeeping and astronomical observations. The site fell into disuse for astronomy in the 20th century, but underwent major restoration and redevelopment in the 2010s, transforming into a contemporary art gallery. The Old Royal High School is a magnificent neoclassical masterpiece, dramatically sitting on the southern slopes of Cotton Hill, forming a key part of the city's Athens of the North ensemble. Its grand Greek Revival style, featuring a prominent pedimented portico with massive Ionic columns, friezes of wreaths, and a long colonnaded facade, perfectly complements Cotton Hill's aspirational Acropolis vibe. It served as the home of the Royal High School, one of Scotland's oldest schools, from 1829 to 1968. The Gothic Tower is the oldest surviving building on the hill and a charming remnant of Edinburgh's early astronomical history. This picturesque mock Gothic structure, featuring a rounded tower with crenelled battlements, pointed arched windows, and a rugged stonework, stands out amid the hill's more classical monuments, adding a romantic medieval flair to the Athens of the North skyline. The National Monument of Scotland is the most dramatic and instantly recognizable feature on Cotton Hill, an unfinished neoclassical masterpiece that looks like a ruined ancient Greek temple perched at the summit. When the construction began in 1822, it was intended to honor Scottish soldiers who died in Napoleonic wars. It was inspired by the Parthenon in Athens, aiming to echo the city's intellectual heritage from the Scottish Enlightenment and its hilly coastal geography resembling ancient Greece. Unfortunately, the work halted abruptly in 1829 due to lack of funds, leaving only a fraction completed. What remains is a striking colonnade of Doric columns, each about 45 feet tall, supporting partial architraves and pediments, set on a massive podium. It stands proudly amid Cotton Hill's other monuments, creating a surreal romantic ruin that contrasts beautifully with the city's skyline. Many have proposed completing it over the years, but it has been preserved in its unfinished form, now embraced as a poignant emblem of Scottish history and aspiration, serving as a focal point of the epic beauty of Edinburgh's Cotton Hill. This episode concludes my Edinburgh series. 8 months after my trip to Edinburgh, I'm still haunted by its beauty. Edinburgh's beauty is profound, almost overwhelming. A rare fusion of dramatic natural landscape, layered historic architecture, and ever-changing atmospheric light that makes it feel both ancient and alive, romantic yet rugged. At its core, the city is built on volcanic rock. Extinct craters like Arthur's Seat and the dramatic Salisbury cracks rise boldly from the center, creating wild green hills that plunge right into the urban fabric. From their summits, or nearby Cotton Hill, with its unfinished Parthenon-like national monument, you get sweeping 360-degree panoramas. The brooding silhouette of Edinburgh Castle perched on its crags, dominating the skyline. The spires and chimneys of the medieval Old Town, the elegant Georgian grids of the New Town, and the shimmering Firth of Forth stretching into distant hills. The old town along the Royal Mile is pure Gothic poetry. Narrow winding closes, towering tenements of dark stone, and the iconic castle looming overhead. It's moody and mysterious, especially under shifting skies or rain-kissed cobbles that reflect the light like a living fairy tale. As Alexander McCall Smith captured it so perfectly, this is a city of shifting light, of changing skies, of sudden vistas, a city so beautiful it breaks the heart again and again. Contrast that with the new town's graceful neoclassical elegance, wide streets, symmetrical squares, and the pale sandstone buildings that glow golden in the sunset, embodying the Enlightenment ordered beauty. What elevates Edinburgh beyond mere prettiness is the drama and the contrast. Wild hills against the refined architecture, medieval grid next to Georgian poise, the constant interplay of light, those famous Edinburgh gloamings with burnt orange sunsets, and the sense of history etched into every stone. It's green too, one of the UK's greenest capitals, with parks and gardens weaving through it all. In short, Edinburgh isn't just beautiful, it's hauntingly, heartbreakingly beautiful. A place that inspires poets, breaks hearts with its vistas, and lingers in your dreams long after you've left.